Was Santa Claus a big thing for y'all? Was that a stressful thing at all growing up? And now, as an atheist, do you equate Santa to Jesus? Is it okay to pretend to believe in Santa? Is that,
Oh, I have a story about that, but you guys go ahead.
When I was a kid, a kid on the playground told me that Santa was not real, and I was crushed. And I didn't like run to my parents. I was on the playground. But, when I got home, I ran to my parents and was like, oh my gosh, this kid told me this thing that Santa Claus isn't real. And they were like, oh, that kid was just being awful. Obviously Santa is real. And so later on, when I found out that no, Santa is not in fact
lying
real,
bastard.
I was so pissed off at them. I was just enraged. Because it wasn't just that there was this, passive lie that had been happening. They had actively, when I found out, they had actively deterred me from the truth. And that angered me so much. And might have had something to do with my rejecting other imaginary friends.
Right? I mean, it's a pretty strong parallel.
Right.
You mentioned the Great Pumpkin, and man, what a beautiful metaphor for the holidays and Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. My very short, with the short and concise version of this is, I was that kid on the playground.
Oh, spoiling it for everyone.
Okay, so no, it gets better. So when I was young, I was physically handicapped. And so I actually went to a preschool for mentally and physically handicapped children.
Mm-hmm.
And in the preschool, somebody said something about Santa. And me being, even at that age, being the logical, rational person, thought, well, certainly they would want to know the truth. Boy, this was my introduction to people not wanting to be confronted with the truth.
Same reaction I get when I share these videos on Facebook.
Yeah, I made handicapped children cry.
If there is a sweet baby Jesus, he does not like that.
You got coal in your stocking that year.
No, actually, I think I got Terminator 2. Anyway, so yeah, I was that kid. I'm sorry. From the bottom of my heart to everyone out there, I'm sorry. I just did not see the point in people being deceived and thought certainly they would want to know.
No, I agree. When it came time to, talk to my own kid about Christmas, there was no way I was telling him that Santa was real.
Propagating that lie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was just no. There was not even a question about it. There was no debate, just no.
It just seems so tricky with the world that we live in to, it's almost like having a minority religion. By telling your kids, there's no Santa. Like, it's that same sort of, social pressure
Elf on the shelf. The elf on the shelf. Oh, my God. Have you heard of the elf on the shelf?
No, I've heard of it.
Oh, okay. The idea is you put the elf on the shelf, and it's an active, present reminder to them that someone is always watching their behavior. So that if, the idea of Santa with his list can easily be forgotten occasionally, but if the elf on the shelf is sitting there and can see you and can see what you do,
that's creepy as fuck.
And reports back to Santa. It is. It's really creepy and it's disturbing.
And kind of another metaphor for Christianity.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's always watching.
And to bring it back around to it being secular sexuality in the bedroom too.
You have an elf watching you in your bedroom? Your kink is not my kink, but your kink is okay.
Oh, okay. Horrible memories. Moving on.
Try not to do a spit take. Yeah. All right.
Sorry. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so after that, the last thing is don't don't let your family guilt you into letting them stay with you.
Yeah.
They can find other family members to entertain them.
Or a freaking hotel room.
Or a hotel room. Because the stress is enough at the gatherings. But if that stress is in your home constantly, it's just better not to have that, that stress. Would you guys agree?
Yes.
Yeah, no question. I mean,
Enthusiastic consent.
Yeah, right? That's really what we keep coming back to, is this idea that calendars are made up, holidays are made up, cultures are made up, religions are made up. Some of these things are made out of things, others are just ideas, but really we're all talking about different forms of kind of imaginary things that we sort of have kind of agreed to. And we don't have to opt in to any of them. It's really just about what it is you want out of the holiday, out of, your December 25th, out of your, Thanksgiving Day. It could just be a day off from work and a turkey sandwich. It could be watching a lot of football. It could be doing none of those things.
Holidays are a bizarre sort of social contract, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
They are, yeah.
There's a lot of pressure to opt in, but we do have that choice, and it's important, I think, to be reminded of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And
enthusiastically consenting this holiday season.
And if you don't think that you can do Thanksgiving and Christmas, just pick one.
Yeah.
It'll be the same
That's fair.
family at both.
All right. Do I want less religion or more presents? It's tough.